Students, good morning. Today I am here to teach you the second chapter of the book Hornbill, and that is a poem. And the poem name is A Photograph by Shirley Toulson. Before I start this poem, students, let me give you a brief background of this particular poem. Photograph is a common word that all of us know. Sometimes we go to sea beach, sometimes we go to visit temples, we go on pilgrimages, and we take our DG camera, our mobile phone. So when we visit from one place to another place, we take snaps, and those snaps are undoubtedly an unforgettable memory for all of us. And when we come back, we get printouts of the copies, and after getting the copies, the printout copies, we go to save it in an album. That album may be in manual form, or you save it in your computer system in a folder. So why do we keep photographs? Why do we go to save memories of the past? Because when we grow up, when we come to the stage of adulthood, when we become old, sometimes we are reminiscent of our childhood days. Sometimes we are nostalgic about our childhood days. So when we feel nostalgic about our childhood days, something goes to compel us to remember the past, to think that what happened in the past. And what we do, sitting at one place, remembering the past, we bring that album and we look at that photographs where we spent our childhood days, maybe visiting sea beach, visiting temple area, or having a picnic with friends, and we are going to make those memories lively in our mindset, and we feel rejuvenated on the spot. So in this poem, A Photograph, dear students, Shirley Toulson, you might have heard about this poet, but let me give you a background of this poet here. Shirley Toulson, is actually a poet who belongs to England, and the place where she was born, the place name was Thames, and the year was 1924. So in 1924 she was born. She's a great poet, a journalist. Okay, she writes for newspapers also, articles also. So as a poet, or you can say poetess, her work were based on folklores of Britain and Ireland. Folklores, poems or some recitations that normally done by people, common folks. So this is a kind of poem that was written by Shirley Toulson, where she remembers. She is reminiscent of the past days, and she is remembering her mother. So this poem has 3 stanzas, students. Before I start the poem in detail, let me give you actually the first stanza talks about what, second stanza talks about what, and third stanza talks about what. First stanza talks about the childhood days of mother. Second stanza talks about her passing away. Her passing away means the passing away of the mother of the poet. And third stanza, dear students, here the poet is going to sense loss. Whose loss? The loss of her mother, who is not here with her right now. So her mother is gone. She is no more. And that loss is felt by the poet in the third stanza. Okay, and the whole poem is written in blank verse. Blank verse means there is no rhyming scheme. Okay, and you can just go on reading in a single flow to get the ideas of the poem in detail. So now let me start the first stanza of the poem, students. Listen to me carefully, and I am going to explain each word, each literary devices in the poem in detail, so please be attentive. First line of the first stanza. The cardboard shows me how it was. What is the cardboard here? The paper board or the panel board on which some photographs are there, photocopies are there. So that photocopy in the cardboard or in the paper board, that photo is sticked. The photo is very thick, it is somehow stick to it, And that photocopy shows me, that cardboard shows me. So here cardboard is a symbol. Okay, so here the cardboard is a symbol. It symbolizes the photographs of the old days. Of the old days. Old days means what? The past days. So this poem is undoubtedly a tribute of Shirley Toulson to her mother. Remember this, a tribute to her mother. So this cardboard, where the photograph is there, it shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling. So she remembers of past days when there were two girls cousins. The poet was there, another cousin one there. So two girls cousin were there, and two girls cousin means relatives, you can say. They were paddling. They went paddling. They went paddling. Paddling means what? Paddling means what? Walking in the water, leaping in the water, jumping in the water, and just passing out your time. So it refers to a sea beach. In the sea beach area in the water, two cousins were paddling. They were enjoying. They were jumping. They were walking in the water. Two girls cousin, each one holding one of my mother's hands. Before I proceed to this line, let us go back second line again. Two girl cousins went paddling. What is went paddling? Underline the line, students, and write it down. There is a poetic device. There is an imagery. Went paddling, you can imagine, you can visualize the picture of two cousins jumping and walking in the water at the sea beach. So it's an imagery. Went paddling is an imagery. So they are jumping and walking in the sea beach in the water barefoot. That is when paddling, remember. Each one holding, each cousin is holding one of my mother's hands. So right side one cousin, left side one cousin. They have held the mother's hands, you can say. Whose mother? The poet's mother. My mother's hands refers to the poet's mother. My mother, online alliteration. My mother's hands, alliteration. And see the big girl. Okay, see the big girl. Underline the word big girl. A question may come here. Big girl refers to whom? It refers to the mother of the poet, because she is the eldest one among the three here. Two cousins, and in the middle the big girl is there. So she is the mother of the poet, the eldest one, the tallest one of the three. Some 12 years or so, all three stood still to smile through their hair. So she is the big girl, some 12 years or so. So what does it refer to? So she is talking about the year of the photograph, okay, that was taken when perhaps the age of the poet's mother was 12 years so. At that time, some 12 years or so, that photograph was there. It was taken. All three stood still to smile through their hair. What is all three? Two cousins and the mother of the poet. Stood still, underline another alliteration. Stood still to smile. Stood still to smile. What is still? Silent. So all these three in the photograph look very silent, and they are in a smiling posture. They are smiling. Their facial appearance look, they are smiling. Through their hair means hairs are coming and falling on the face. Why on the face? Because perhaps the bridge, the cold wind is blowing, okay, by the sea beach, and somehow the hairs are coming down and covering their eyes. So through these hairs, through their hair, okay, on the face, smiling is visible. Of the three, at the uncle with the camera. What is uncle? That means excepting these three, also another one was there, and he is the uncle. Uncle is having the camera. He was taking the photograph of these three, okay, of these three, and at that time when the photograph was taken, they were smiling, and cold wind was perhaps there. That's why the hairs are there on the face. So through the hair, their smiling was visible. A sweet face, my mother's. So during that time when the photograph was taken, the facial appearance of the poet's mother looks very sweet, Okay, because at that time she was too young, very young, too young, some 12 years or so that I told right now. So she looked very young, sweet face she had at that time. That was before I was born. That means by that time the poet was not born. Because he was not born, and at that time 12 years or so, the age of the poet's mother, and the poet's mother, the poet talks about. That's why she looks sweet. She looks very beautiful. Sweet face, my mother's. Again, my mother's celebration. That was before I was born. The meaning is clear, student. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. These two lines are very powerful, students. Remember carefully. And the sea beach to which they have visited, which appears to have changed less. So now the poet talks about highlighting the situation at the present. She says that the same sea beach is there where the poet's mother and two cousins they have visited. Same sea beach is there, but there is not much change that is visible in the part of the sea. So that means a slight change is there. At least no changes are there in the appearance of the sea. Sea is somehow, it is permanent. It is perennial. It is eternal. It has no change. It is permanent, you can say. Washed their terrible transient feet. Washed their whose feet? Two cousins and the poet's mother. So their feet is washed away. What is feet is washed away? Is it really actually the feet washed away? No. The footprints all the three had at the sea beach when the sea water came closer to them, and the footprints that was visible on the sand, that footprints was visible only for a short period on the spot, and gradually by the passage of time that footprint was washed away. It vanished, it disappeared. Okay, that is why it is called transient feet. So here, students, remember how the feet is transient. It refers to the footprint, but indirectly there is a reference here in the word feet. Feet refers to what? Human feet, human life. So terribly transient, these two are alliteration. Remember, students, underline that and remember, terribly transient each alliteration. But if you get a question, terribly transient feet, all these three words combinedly, it's called a transferred epithet. So dear students, what is actually the meaning of transferred epithet? Transferred epithet, you can remember, students, one adjective is there. Remember, here is one adjective is there. Transient feet. Transient adjective, feet is noun. So this adjective grammatically qualifies a noun, that is the formula. Noun, okay, other than the person or thing it is actually describing. That means here you see feet is used, but here feet is actually referred to the transient life of human beings. That means human beings' life is temporary or transient. There is no question of permanence in the life of human beings, in our life, you can say. So we are here in this world only for a short period. But the sea, which is there, it is permanent. So there is no change that is visible in the sea, whereas changes are seen in the life of human beings. Okay? One example I give you in the case of transferred epithet, for example, sleepless nights. How nights are sleepless? Is it possible? Nights are sleepless. But yes, sometimes human beings are going to pass sleepless nights. When they are stressed, they have to do a lot of work. So your sleepless nights, who does it? People do it. Transferred epithet. Similarly, cheerful money. How money is cheerful? Who are cheerful? Having money. Human beings. So these are examples of transferred epithet you must remember. So here transferred epithet is highlighted in the part terribly transient feet. I repeat again, here it refers to the life of human beings that is terribly transient, very horribly temporary, horribly short-lived. So human life is short-lived. Okay, it is temporary in nature. Whereas whereas the symbol of permanence is there in the case of the sea. In standard 9, you might have gone through a very good poem, not in the new syllabus, students, it was in the old syllabus. The poem was written by Alfred Lord Tennyson, and the poem name was The Brook. And there is a very good line you must remember, and that line is, "For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever." What does it mean? The brook says, men may come, men may go, people may come, people may go. That means people are coming, they take birth on this earth, and one day a time comes, they go away, they pass away, okay, they are no more, they die. So their life is temporary, but I go on forever. So what does the brook say? As a natural gift of God, you can say, I go on flowing like this, I go on moving like this. I don't have death, I don't go to die, whereas people, they go to die. Okay, so this is a line you can refer to when you go to compare this temporary life of or transient life of human beings, when you go to compare with the permanent life of the sea here. Okay, I hope we are clear about the first stanza, students. So what does it again refer? I must add some few lines more because you should be very clear about this. So terribly transient feat, you can go to also talk that how powerful the time is. Okay, and when time is powerful, it goes to make your life temporary, because we can't go to surpass the power of time. By the passage of time, you might have seen in there is a very good poem you will read in class 12, and the first poem of the class 12, let me tell you the line only so that you can connect here. The line was, trees sprinting. What is trees sprinting? Sprinting means moving fast, running fast. So how trees are running fast? Trees are running fast, it refers to time passing away. Time passes very fast. That is why time doesn't wait for somebody or anyone. We have to keep pace with time. It also refers to that by the passage of time, a human being becomes old. We are aging by the passage of time. Okay, it refers to what? Temporariness of human life. Okay, anyway, come back. I go to second stanza and the first line. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. So remember, 12 years of age, at that time the photograph was taken when the poet's mother was there. And now the poet thinks, when my mother has come to the age of 20 or 30, okay, she would laugh at the snapshot. Who would laugh? The poet's mother. She would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly. Who are Betty and Dolly here? The two cousins who are there, standing closer to the poet's mother, okay, holding her hand from both the sides. See Betty and Dolly, she would say. She would laugh at the snapshot. What is snapshot? Photo. So this photo, she would look at it and she would laugh at it, that how beautiful was there. At the years of 12 years when I was there, see how the photo looks like. So she will remember, she will be nostalgic. She would laugh at it. Betty and Dolly, she would say, look how they dressed us for the beach. How they dressed us for the beach. Who are us here? The two cousins here. And who have dressed them? Perhaps the parents of those two. They have dressed them beautifully and they have gone with the poet's mother to the sea beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter. Very, very beautiful line. Okay, so what is the past for the poet? What is the past for the poet's mother? A question may come here. So what is the past for the poet's mother? But the past for the poet's mother is the sea holiday, what she spent with her cousins. That was the past for the poet's mother. But what is the past for the poet here? The past for the poet here is the laughing of her mother, and that laughing she would have when she looked at that snapshot at the age of 30 or 30 years later. That means 20 or 30 years later. Imagine 12 years and plus 30, 42 years around. When at that age she would look at the snapshot, she would laugh at it, and the poet remembers that laughing, that smiling of my mother is my past. Okay, both rye with levered ease of loss. Let me stop here. Next class will continue. I'll give you the questions today. In the first chapter that I taught, that was A Prototype Lady by Khushbu Singh. Tomorrow I'll complete this poem. I'll also give you questions. I hope you'll cooperate, and I want to have all the answers by tomorrow on my personal WhatsApp number that I have already shared in this group. Thank you, students.